All right, then. I think, yes. Okay, it appears that we are live. Good afternoon, beloveds. I'm running a little bit late. I'm a little bit late because of the cat that is sitting right here. He's not a lap cat. And yet when I was out there in the other room, he came up and sat in my lap. And since he doesn't do it very often, I wanted to give him all of the time that he wanted, which was, 15 minutes. So I'm running a little late, but that's okay. Okay, so what we are doing is the Essential Ernest Holmes. We will be doing chapter 4 for the purposes of the Essential Ernest Holmes class. He just pulled it off. For the purposes of the Essential Ernest Holmes class, though, you would start on page 55, which is in chapter 3. And I did tell you, if you watch the video for chapter 3, where I stopped for the class. I didn't stop, but because I finished the chapter. But so, if you pause the video there, then you pick up in chapter 3, and then we will do the entire chapter 4 for week 5. I should be far enough. Yeah, we're only on week 3, so I should be far enough ahead that I should be able to keep ahead of the class. Okay, so that is what we are doing here. I'll do the housekeeping really quick, and all the housekeeping is I'm reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. That is who I'm doing this for. The website is creativelife.org. Constant contact email info@creativelife.org. So if you're curious about, why am I reading this book? I'm reading this book for the Essential Ernest Holmes. You can get on that email and see the next time he's teaching the class. And then the email will get you one email a week, tells you what's going on for the week, the month, including what classes are being taught by the variety of ministers that we have, or the book studies, or the Philosophy Friday, which is it is a fantastic discussion group. We also have, we're also on all of the social medias, which is, I'm doing this on one of the social medias. And you can support, a free and easy way that you can support the center is by engaging with our social media. Like, subscribe, follow based on which platform you're on, and then engage with the individual posts by reacting, commenting, sharing. It bumps us in the algorithms, and the more people see our stuff. So it's a free and easy way that you can support the center. So you're either watching this on Facebook or on YouTube. Facebook only leaves the videos up for 30 days. So what I do is I download them and move them to YouTube channels. Depending on what you're watching. Because this is a textbook for a class that Jesse is teaching, it will be on both YouTube channels. We have the Creative Life Spiritual Center YouTube channel, which is where all of the Sunday services go, the midweek meditations go, and when I do full chapters of books, they'll go there. The daily readings that you see me do on Facebook, those are archived on the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel. So you can go back and see what I've been doing for the last 6 years. Because I started this in 2020. I think I started in April of 2020. So I've been at this for a while. And then we're also on Instagram, which is Creative Life Spark. So Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark, and I am the Running Rev Ryan across all of the social medias that I am on. So, even if you're just interested in the books, go look at the playlist. You can see the books that that are up there. So, I found out that some of these books, like this book, or Emma Curtis Hopkins books, they're not necessarily available in Audible form. And I'm I'm hyperactive. So I'm in the ADHD, and sitting still and reading a book quietly isn't easy. So honestly, for me, reading them out loud to you is a whole lot easier for me to actually get more out of the book. And then I'm providing copies or an Audible version of this for the people who, like me, are dyslexic. I'm only mildly dyslexic, and it really shows up worse in the numbers. So I have a different form of dyslexia, because there's apparently about 3 different forms of dyslexia. I have the one that makes numbers a little interesting. They're a little spicy. So, reading is not a big deal. Although I think it's the reason why I'm such a terrible speller. So there's that. All right. So today we are going to read the Essential Ernest Holmes was put together by Reverend Jesse Jennings, and he is the senior minister of Creative Life Spiritual Center. And this was a book deal. There were like 3 of them because Marilyn Leo did one, and I think Reverend Kathy Hearn. So Dr. Marilyn Leo and Reverend Dr. Kathy Hearn and Reverend Dr. Jesse Jennings all put together books. And so he poured through his class lectures, his magazine articles, the textbooks to put this together. So this is a very good introduction to the way Ernest thinks. So it's not any one of his books, but it is a selection from all of them, including like the class lectures and, like I said, the magazine articles. It's really good. It's really amazing. And I've read the textbook, including live on here. So here we are. Okay. And now I'm going to get a big drink of water, open my highlighter, turn my light on, and we're going to get going on chapter 4. I don't want to put David behind any further than I am already going to put him behind, because these chapters can take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half to read. So, chapter 4 of the Essential Ernest Holmes, and he starts all of these chapters out with a selection from the Voice Celestial. The Voice Celestial is an epic poem where he kind of sits down and tells you everything that he's learned over his life. It's really amazing, and it is one of the books that I have done. I know the full thing is on the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel. I think most of it is up on the Creative Life. I really need to go find out if I've got the whole thing up there. I may be missing a couple of chapters. Simply because I had to cut and paste them together because I did them as a daily reading. All right, so we are starting chapter 4. The power responds to all alike. The fairer. Oh, you who have been bound as I have been, in bonds of superstition and of doubt, I cry to you, ye bear false witness to the power of that which non-existent is. Ye have but made a law of accident and chance, of fallen humanity and angry gods, who send offending souls to purgatory or buy them back again. How strange the story. The presence. The God whom I proclaim is not such God, but being absolute, from whom outflows a ceaseless stream of wisdom bathed in love. For being is both essence and a state of consciousness or mind in action, which at all times has harmony within itself, and cannot know the feeling of revenge for sin, because it knows no sin. For sin is but a name for states of consciousness, of those who fail to harmonize with law. The river will not make you drink, though you should die of thirst. It does not leap the banks to lave the parching fields, nor force the roots to drink, yet rushes joyously to fill the channel or the reservoir when once the gate swings wide to let it give itself. Say not, I search, how can I enter? For I know no way to free myself from sin. From what you seek, you are so swiftly fleeing, when deep within you are already being. No more of being can there ever be than that which is in this moment in the me. From this deduce the truth. None else can view or state the terms by which love comes to you, nor can they give the verdict no or yes for entrance into cosmic consciousness, and love alone reveals such unity.
and soul by soul it awakens in the me. Most wisely do you speak, and wise the soul, who heeds, for consciousness of God alone provides a way for mind to unify and synthesize all fields of knowledge in a comprehensive whole, where opposites converge to form a perfect round, and where all faiths will be dissolved into a flux of direct knowing. Friction disappear where harmony is found, and love is key. No one can doubt that in the oversoul, no conflicts can exist between the fields of knowledge, nor the laws of things or thoughts, or of religious faiths. The truths in each are true in all and in the cosmic mind. Untruth cannot exist. The oversoul. The lesser self are one, and they in whom the union is complete must share with God in freedom from the conflicts that divide humanity and rend their hearts and lives. Once more I say to you, you need not wait for heaven waits for you, and it is now. Immortal life is here, and they who has through love found life within the me resolves all doubt and solves life's mystery. It's a phenomenal poem. I highly recommend it. And I recommend it reading it out loud, because there's something amazing about hearing poetry out loud. Try it. Trust me, you will like it. The voice celestial. All right, let's get on with the rest of the reading. Taking what we know and living it is the subject of the final introductory material in the Science of Mind. It reveals Ernest at his most powerful. How to use it. And this part should be from the textbook, because I remember, the first 4 chapters, the thing itself, what it is, how it works, how to use it. Okay? One of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we can only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be and is the truth. Of course, the theory of any scientific principle goes beyond its application at any given stage of the unfoldment of that principle and the evolution of its accomplishments. If this were not true, there would be no progress in any science. The sciences are objectively real to us only insofar as we demonstrate them, and until demonstrated, they are suppositional, as far as practical results are concerned. If there is any field of research where the practical application is necessary, it is in the metaphysical field. And I would say that the reason for that is because we get accused of being airy-fairy, and we're not. Road test this stuff. It works, right? But that's why he's saying, if there's any field of research that really needs to prove, to do the demonstration, it's us, so that we don't get accused of being airy-fairy. All right, so let me read that sentence again. If there's any field of research where the practical application is necessary, it is in the metaphysical field. The reason being that the principle of metaphysics seems less tangible to the average person than does the principle of the other sciences. As a matter of fact, all principles are as intangible, but the world at large has not yet come to consider the principle of mental practice in the same light that it considers other given principles of life and action. I mean, can you see the law of gravity? No, but you can see its effects, right? That's what he's talking about here. It's Apparent intangibility is lessened whenever and wherever anyone actually demonstrates the supremacy of spiritual thought force over apparent material resistance. It is easy enough to rush about shouting, "There are no sick people," but this will never heal those who appear to be sick. It is easy to proclaim that there are no needy. Anyone can say this, whether they be wise or otherwise. If we are to prove such statements to be facts in our experience, we shall be compelled to do more than announce a principle, no matter how true it may be. There is no doubt about the immutability and the availability of the law. The law is infinite. It is right where we happen to be at any given time. It occupies all space and fills every form with differentiations of itself. Now that's a turn of phrase, differentiations of itself. I like that. Fills. The law also flows through us because it flows through everything. And since we exist, it must be in and through us. This is the crux of the whole matter. Infinite and immutable as the law is, ever present and available as it must be, the potential possibilities of all human probability, it must flow through us in order to manifest for us. Which is a fancy way of saying it can only do for us what it can do through us. We have to be receptive to it. Okay? It has been proved that by thinking correctly and by a conscious mental use of the law of mind, we can cause it to do definite things for us, through us. By conscious thinking, we give conscious direction to it, and it consciously or unconsciously responds to our advance along the line of our conscious or subjective direction. It must and will respond to everyone because it is law, and law is no respecter of persons. No, hang on. It must and will respond to everyone. We are surrounded by an intelligent force and a substance from which all things come. The ultimate essence in the invisible and subjective world of all visible and objective forms and conditions. Now that sentence right there, that is one of the reasons why Jesse says that we should stop fearing the invisible, because everything that is visible came from the invisible. That's why we shouldn't need to fear the invisible, because everything came from it, and eventually everything goes back to it. So, there we are. Okay? It is around us in its original state, ready and willing to take form through the impulse of our creative belief. It works for us by flowing through us. Now, we've already said this in about 3 different ways, right? It works for us by flowing through us. This law we did not create. This law we cannot change. We can use it correctly only as we understand it and use it according to its nature. Hence, it follows that if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing not to work. When we believe it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does, it still does. Only it does according to our belief that it will not. This is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter in because of our doubts and fears. It is not a punishment imposed upon us by the Spirit of God, but an automatic result of failing constructively to use the law of God. God does not punish the mathematician who fails to obtain the right answer to their problems. The thought of the unsolved problem does punish them until they apply the right principle and thus secures the desired results. Thus, sin and punishment, righteousness and salvation are logical reactions to the universe to the life of the individual. So we're not punished because of our actions, but by our actions. Oof. When we are dealing with real life, with thoughts, impulses, emotions, etc., we are dealing with causation, with original cause, and we should be most careful how we deal with such powers and forces. In dealing with this subtle power of mind and spirit, we are dealing with a fluid force. It is forever taking form and forever deserting the form which it has taken. Thus, a practitioner of this science should not be confused over any given form, but should know that any form which is not of the original harmony is subject to change. Okay, hang on. That's a really, really, really important point. Thus, a practitioner of the science should not be confused over any given form, but should know that any form which is not of the original harmony is subject to change. The original spirit is harmony. It is beauty and truth and everything that goes with ultimate reality. The universe is not divided against itself. We should learn to control our thought processes and bring them into line with reality. Thought should tend more and more towards an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, towards a real unity with spirit that is already complete and perfect. We should be able to look a discordant fact in the face and deny its reality, since we know its seeming reality is borrowed from illusion, from chaos and old night. Our standard is one of perfection. Be ye therefore perfection, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. That's Matthew 5:48. We should be able to look at a wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it. The realization that we have this ability must be gained by the application of our knowledge. Okay? We've got that in italics, so that was a really important point to Ernest. The realization that we have this ability must be gained by the application of our knowledge. In other words, go try it. Road test it. Try it out. Because you're never going to get anywhere if all you do is talk about it. Go try it. Do the experiment. It's part of the reason why he calls us a science, because we are constantly experimenting with the principle. All right? The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect. That's Psalms 19:7. And we must believe that this to be a fact. In so far as our thought is in accord with this perfect law, it will accomplish, and nothing can hinder it. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. Matthew 24:35. Said the beautiful Jesus, as he strove to teach his disciples the immutability of the law of righteousness. A practitioner uses thought definitely and for specific purposes, and the more definitely they use the law, the more directly it will respond to them. A false fact is neither person, place, nor thing to the one who uncovers it, and once uncovered, it has no place in which to hide. The illusion, seen and understood, is made negative in the experience of the one who suffered by it. While it is true that wrong conditions exist, they cannot remain unless there is someone to experience them. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness. Change the consciousness, and the false condition will disappear. Conditions are not entities. We are entities. Cannot that which is conscious cast out that which has no consciousness? If we properly understood, we would be able to remove false conditions as easily as Jesus did. He knew, but our faith is weak. We must strengthen it, and we can. Let us analyze this. One finds themselves impoverished. They wish to change this condition. They know that it is not in accord with the ultimate reality, that the Spirit imposes no limitations. Therefore, they know that their apparent limited condition has no real law to support it. It is simply an experience of consciousness. They wish to a definite result in the opposite direction. First, they realize that the law of life is a law of liberty, of freedom. They now state that this law of liberty is flowing through them and into all of their affairs. But the image of their limitation persists. Here is a definite contradiction to their statements of freedom. Right here, they must stop and declare that these images of limitation are neither place, person, or thing, that they have no power, personality, or presence, and no real law to support them. They do not believe in them, and they cannot operate through them. They are free from their influence forever. They then begin to fill their thought with the idea of faith, the expectancy of good and the realization of plenty. They sense and mentally see right action in their life. They put their whole trust in the law of good, and it becomes very real to them as they definitely speak it into being, into their being and the being of their affairs. They deny anything and everything that contradicts their realization of this truth. At this point of realization, they meet a friend who immediately begins a tale of woe about hard times, bad business conditions, etc. And should they listen to this tale of the serpent, they might reverse their previous affirmations and make negative their former and mental and spiritual concept. This does not mean that they should refuse to hold a conversation with people for fear that they will neutralize the position which they have taken in their mind, but that they should refuse mentally to accept the false position. Then they can talk with anyone and not be disturbed. It's said that Emma had when people would come to her and tell their tale of woe, that she would sit there in the back of their mind and deny it. You are not that. You are not that. You are not that. So as people were telling their tale of woe, she was denying that that's what they were. Not that they were having the experience, but that she was denying that that's what they were. And that's what he's saying here. It's not that people aren't having these experiences. We would never deny the experiences that people are having. But what we do is we deny that that is what they are. Okay? You are not the experiences that you are having. That's the kind of the crux of that. Is like you are not the experience you're having. So if you are having a limiting experience, you are not that limited experience. You are unlimited possibility in the essence of the divine. See the difference? It's like we're not denying the experiences people are having. We are denying that that is all that they are. We are seeing the infinite possibility of the essence of them. All right, back to Ernest. The time will come when we let our conversation be in heaven and refuse to talk about, read, or think about those things that ought not to be. But, someone will say, should we refuse to look at sickness, poverty, and unhappiness? This is not what we are discussing. We will not refuse to help the helpless or lift up the fallen, but we will refuse to wallow in the mud because of our sympathies. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Matthew 15:14. Okay, this is not what we're. That's what I'm saying. You know, like we're not going to deny the experiences that you are having. We're going to deny that that is the extent of what you are. All right, you grab a drink here. Of all the people in the world, the ones who have come nearest to touching the seamless garment of truth have been the most sympathetic and the greatest lovers of the race. Jesus said, "And I, if I be lifted up and not dragged down, will draw all people unto me." John 12:32. We are in the world and of it, and it is good that it is so. The world is all right when we view it correctly. Who knows what would transpire if all people would speak the truth? It has never yet been tried. But let not the mouth of the profane hinder those who would enter, thereby keeping them from entering. The world has never yet followed the simple ethics of Jesus, yet it is loud in its proclamation that it is Christian. This statement is not written in the spirit of controversy. It is one of conviction and will make its appeal in a spirit of controversy. Well, hang on. Let me try that again. I got myself confused on where I was in the page. This statement, all right, let me just rewind to the one that I highlighted. That'll make more sense. The world has not yet followed the simple ethics of Jesus, yet it is loud in its proclamation that it is Christian. This statement is not written in a spirit of controversy, it is one of conviction, and it will make its appeal only to those who are convinced. A person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. Let us return to the person who really wishes to demonstrate the supremacy of spiritual thought force over apparent material resistance. Let us put their treatment in the first person, impersonating them for the purpose of clarity. Okay? And this is where you're going to see Ernest do a spiritual mind treatment. And one of the secrets is 1, first person, 2, present tense. Okay? So let's see what he has to say. I am a center in the divine mind, a point of God consciousness, life, truth, and action. My affairs are divinely guided and guarded into right action, into correct results. Everything I do, say, or think is stimulated by the truth. There is power in this word that I speak because it is of the truth and it is the truth. There is perfect and continuous right action in my life and my affairs. All belief in wrong action is dispelled and made negative. Right action alone has power, and right action is power. And power is God, the living Spirit Almighty. This Spirit animates everything that I do, say, or think. Ideas come to me daily, and these ideas are divine ideas. They direct me and sustain me without effort. I am continuously directed. I am compelled to do the right thing at the right time, to say the right word at the right time, and to follow the right course at all times. All suggestion of age, poverty, and limitation or unhappiness is uprooted from my mind and cannot gain entrance to my thought. I am happy, well, and filled with perfect life. I live in the spirit of truth and am conscious that the spirit of truth lives in me. My word is the law unto its own manifestation, and will bring to me or cause me to be brought to its fulfillment. There is no unbelief, no doubt, no uncertainty. I know, and I know that I know. Let every thought of doubt vanish from my mind, that I may know the truth, and the truth may make me free. The truth is instantaneous in its demonstration, taking only such time in its unfoldment as is inherent in the law of a logical and sequential evolution. Okay, hang on. In this invisible law of unfoldment, we must come to trust, and although we do not see the way, we must believe that the way is and is operative. We must trust the invisible, for it is the sole cause of that which is visible. And things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Hebrews 11:3. Healing and demonstration take place as our minds become attuned to the truth of being. There is no process of healing. There is generally a process in healing. This process is the time and effort which we undergo in our realization of truth. Okay, hang on. I've heard Jesse say that before, and it's really, really important. There is no process of healing, but there is generally a process in healing. Wanted to keep that one. Oh, okay. Hang on. I'm going to take a moment to think about that. I was also thinking about, I just read that really long treatment. And one of the things about doing treatments is making sure the words resonate with you. Because in that treatment, he used the word compelled. Well, compelled it hits me a little different. So it's not necessarily a word I would have used. So that's one of the things when you read other people's treatments. If they don't resonate with you, change the words until it does. Like, it's got to ring your bell, and if it doesn't ring your bell, change the words until it does. So it's super important to know that, because in the textbook, there are lots of treatments. There are lots of, affirmations and meditations just sprinkled all the way through in the back. And Ernest will not be offended if you take his treatment, use it as a framework, and change the words to make it your own. All right. Let me get back to the process of treatment. Okay, healing and demonstration take place as our minds become attuned to the truth of being. There is no process of healing, but there is generally a process in healing. This process is the time and effort which we undergo in our realizations of truth. The one who wishes scientifically to work out their problems must daily take the time to meditate and mentally treat the condition, no matter what the apparent contradictions may be. They are working silently in the law, and the law will find an outlet through their faith in it. This law is the law that puts the act into all action. It is the invisible actor working through us to will and to do. As a result of right treatment, the mold formed in the subjective mind by the treatment makes possible a concrete manifestation. The treatment is an intelligent energy in the invisible world. It is a spiritual entity working through the law of mind, and it is an actual force now consciously directed. Therefore, it must produce specific results. This will not seem strange to those who have given thought to the subject, as the primordial word of the Creator is the only thing which explains creation. So every person's word, partaking of this original nature as it does, must reproduce the creative function in their life at the level of their consciousness of one life back of, in, and through all. A treatment is a spiritual entity in the material world. Nope, sorry, not the material world. Let me try that again. A treatment is a spiritual entity in the mental world and is equipped with power and volition. As much power and volition as there is faith in it, given to it by the mind of the one using it. And, operating through the law, it knows exactly how to work and what methods to use and just how to use them. We do not put the power into this word, but we do let the power of this law flow through it, and the one who most completely believes in this power will produce the best results. This is the law of cause and effect again. When one gives a treatment for right action and does not believe that right action will be the result, they make their own treatment negative. Therefore, we should spend much time in convincing ourselves of the truth of our treatments. Okay, therefore, we should spend much time convincing ourselves of the truth of our treatments. Now, this is not a power of will, but a power of choice. We do not put the power into this treatment, and we will take out of the treatment only as much as we believe is in it. If one doubts their ability to give an effective treatment, they should specifically treat themselves to remove this doubt. They should say something like this, but not necessarily these words. Okay, no, and that's actually what he has written here. He's like, here, you should say this, but it doesn't have to be exactly this. So, all right. It was just funny. I am convinced that this word has power, and I firmly believe in it. I trust it to produce the right results in my life or in the life of the one for whom I am using this word. We should work not with anxiety, but with expectancy, not by coercion, but with conviction, not through compulsion, but in a state of conscious recognition and receptivity. We do not have to drive or push, but we must accept and believe. We should then leave everything to the law, expecting a full and complete proof of our faith. We should not be disappointed or chagrined, for the law is our faithful servant. One should treat any given proposition until they prove their principle, no matter how long it takes. We should treat until we get results, until there comes into our objective experience the actual outpouring of our subjective words. When working for someone else, speak the name of this person into mind, then proceed with the treatment. Should someone come to you with the question, am I too old to find my rightful place? What are you, as a practitioner, to reply? You explain that there is no recognition of age in the truth, that everyone has their place in truth, that God does not withdraw itself from us at a certain age, for God is omnipresent. In this present, every being is fully provided for at every age. A practitioner consciously removes the apparent obstruction and leaves the field open to a new influx of spirit. Oh, did you hear that? Okay, that's a really good description of what practitioners do. Okay, a practitioner consciously removes the apparent obstruction and leaves the field open to a new influx of spirit. They resolve things into thought, dissolve the negative appearance in the condition by recognizing only perfection. The practitioner must know and must state that there are no obstacles in the pathway of truth. They must know that their word Woo! Hang on. Okay. All right, I'm okay. I'm going to get a drink of water. Oh, okay. All right. That got real intense, and then I sneezed. All right. Let's go back. Let's try that again. Where were we? Huh. Okay, I'm going to go back to the line. The practitioner must know and must state that there are no obstacles in the pathway of truth. They must know that their word, being the activity of the truth, removes all obstructions from the pathway of their patient or the one for whom they are working. If the obstruction is the result of a hangover of belief from past years, the practitioner must know that no past mistake can hinder or obstruct the flow of the divine intelligence through God's ideas, which is perfect humanity, manifesting the attributes of God in freedom, happiness, activity, and power, and that this truth is now made manifest in their life. The patient should try to be the patient or client, we don't use the word patient anymore because it's medical, and yeah, there are laws. So, we don't use the word patient, we use the word client, just so you know. So, the patient should try to be receptive, not to the will of the practitioner, but to the purpose of the universe. That is, the patient should expect results and should be willing to give up anything and everything that would hinder the demonstration. Perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. And remember that perfect means whole, not flawless, okay? Perfect used to be a trigger word for me, and when Jesse explained that perfect is not the same as flawless, it means whole, inclusive, it went a long way to helping me with dealing with perfect belief, okay? It means whole belief, all of it, not some of it. The mental attitude of the practitioner is one of denial toward every false condition that opposes the principle of life as one of absolute perfection. God's world is perfect, and this is the principle we have to demonstrate. Spiritual things must be spiritually discerned, and when we are ready and willing spiritually to discern, we shall find a ready response from the invisible into the visible. Let us do our work consciously and thoroughly and leave the results to the law, which is perfect. A new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. This is in line with the evolution of the Great Presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. is useless as well as foolish to make any attempts to cover this principle or to hold it as a vested right of any religion, sect, or order. The truth will come out, the Spirit will make itself known. Happy are we if we see these things which, from the foundation of the human race, have been longed for by all aspiring souls. Truth through the You know you're getting towards the end when you start stumbling over easy words. Truth, thought, I see the problem. True thought deals directly with first cause. And this science is the study of first cause, spirit, or the truth, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff, and intelligence from which everything comes. The power back of creation, the thing itself. Okay. You've probably got about 5 pages left. All right. The subconscious, subjective aspect of mind is here likened to fertile soil. We use it personally and also collectively in the respect that Ernest labels the race consciousness or race suggestion. We've also heard it called collective consciousness, which I think is a really good way to say it. Race consciousness kind of has some baggage to it. So whatever term makes you feel, and I do really like collective consciousness. So the sum of all human belief that exerts an influence on each of us. Yet our individual choice is supreme, able to transcend any collective limitations. And when it does so, the whole collective reality is lifted up to a field of new possibilities. The soul, being the seat of memory, already contains a record of everything that has ever happened to us. These memories, as a whole, constitute the subjective tendency of the individual life. This tendency can be changed through constant effort and a determined persistency of purpose. The soul life of all people merges, more or less, and this creates the soul life of the race, the collective subjectivity of all humanity, called by some the collective unconscious. This collective unconscious contains a record of all human events that have ever transpired. We are all, more or less, subject to this collective thought, since it acts as a powerful race suggestion. The sum total of all erroneous human belief binds until the individual mentally lifts themselves above the law of averages into the higher law of spiritual individualism. What you are deeply feeling is usually what you are establishing in mind as cause. It is the pattern for which you will receive. It is the pattern for what you will receive. To make this more clear, even though you may have thought of it before, think about the soil of a garden. When you wish to produce a crop of any kind, you first prepare the soil, using your best knowledge to get it into the right condition so it will bring forth what you want to grow there. When the earth is well prepared, free from obstructions, properly fertilized, and in every way made ready to receive the seed, when the rain and the sun have done their part, and you have carefully selected your seeds and made your plans, then you begin the planting. You plant only those seeds that will grow into what you want in your garden. You may want a row of radishes in between one of beets and one of carrots. Close by, in the same soil, you plant cabbages, and then next, perhaps, watermelons. From the good, reliable, dependable soil, the radish seed draws whatever is needed to produce white radishes with red skins. But from exactly the same soil, in the very next row, you get carrots, bright orange yellow, all the way through, and tasting not one bit like the radishes. And on the other side are the deep red beets of still another texture and tastes. All the other kinds of seeds bring forth according to their own natures. And this is the point. You know they would. That is why you planted them. No one is wise enough to pick out the soil chemicals to produce the different results, but then no one has to. Your part is fourfold. Get the soil ready, choose the right seeds, plant them, and then give the garden the right care and attention. The marvelously wise soil of Mother Nature takes charge of the process of production. Okay, so right here, here's where he's talking about the treatment is your part. And then once you do the treatment, you get out of the way and you let the law do it. Sometimes we get really controlling and we want to say, okay, it's got to happen exactly this way. And when we do that, we limit all of the amazing ways that Spirit could have brought to us what we actually wanted. So, here he's going, do your part. Absolutely do your part. And then get out of the way. Get out of the way of the process. All right. I enjoy the planting method. I'm not that great of a gardener. I may not be a gardener at all, but I have gotten good at keeping plants alive. I have some ivies by my front door that I have cared for a number of years, and they're still alive. I'm really happy about that because I do my part and get out of the way. All right. No one can explain why or how this happens. But then, just because of a lack of such understanding, do we fail to take advantage of it? No. Year after year, millions of people plant their gardens and know in advance what harvests they are going to have. In the spiritual realm, the subjective mind as law is the soil. It is just as dependable, just as reliable, and functions just as naturally as the soil in the garden. It takes whatever you choose to plant in it, and it produces accordingly. You, personally, are the one who determines what kind of result you are going to have. That is one of the principles you need to keep constantly in mind. That which you decide with conscious mind and then commit to the action of law in quiet trust, in perfect confidence, is that which will come to pass for you. No one knows just how thoughts become concrete and tangible. Neither does anyone know how one part of the soil produces a carrot when the very same soil, only a few inches away, brings forth luscious watermelon. But just because the action is not completely understood, has this kept one from planting seeds? Wait, what? Just because the action is not completely understood, has this kept one from planting seeds? You need to be equally wise and trustful about your spiritual planting. Care was used in preparing the garden soil in order to get it into the proper condition. Here again, the analogy is true. We must remove from the creative medium of mind all negatives. It must be at peace. It has to have removed from it everything that would obstruct the right development of the good results sought. When you are poised, calm, at peace, filled with happy expectancy, serenely trusting in the fulfillment of the highest good, you are ready to do your spiritual planting. Now, right there, that does not mean that you cannot treat in cases of stress and distress, i.e. like in cases of emergency. But it does mean that if you are going to treat in situations like that, that you should, and I hesitate to should on you, but here I'm going to do that you should take a moment to ground and center yourself. So if you are going to treat under duress, make sure that you go to that quiet part in your mind, okay? So it doesn't mean that every treatment has to be done in the quiet of your, prayer room. That you can't do it out in traffic. It does mean, though, that for the best result, that you gotta kind of quiet your mind and calm your mind before you do it. So, because I've treated in all kinds of strange situations, but the first thing that I do is I ground and center. It's like I go and find that quiet part in my mind and go, this is where I'm going to treat from. Not from the chaos going on around me, because most likely what I'm doing is treating about the chaos going around me. So I'm going to go find that quiet place in my mind to treat from. Okay? So just don't think that the only place that you can do treatment is an absolute peaceful quiet. You can do it out in the real world. In fact, I encourage you to do it out in the real world. Just find that quiet place in your mind. All right? Okay. Because that is really where you will do your best work. Okay. All right. All summer long, the warmth of the sun and the gentle No. Hang on. I got my words out of order. I did say I was dyslexic, didn't I? All summer long, the warmth of the sun and the refreshment of gentle rains bring your garden through the various stages of growth to rich maturity, the reason you planted it. Your spiritual garden, first planted in the soil of emotional serenity, you keep nourished with love and watered with expectancy. Do not let any weeds of doubt or anxiety hinder its progress. Do not let any weeds of doubt or anxiety hinder its progress. Give it daily attention, entirely free from worry or fear as to the outcome. Remember, you can trust the soil to do its part if you but do your part. If there had been no soil, you could have had no garden. Further, the soil had to be in the right condition. So it is with your spiritual garden. You are always planting something, desires, longings, hopes, or fears and worries. There's no special season set aside for this kind of planting. Therefore, the subjective mind soil must be in the right condition all the time. You are always planting, and you cannot afford to have the good seeds dropped into the soil which contains a mass of weeds. You cannot afford to be planting bad seeds. Thoughts of negation, worry, fears, anger, hates, resentment. Such seeds will grow just as rapidly as the good seeds and will bring forth a crop just as sure and abundant. The soil of the garden has no power or inclination to reject bad seeds while accepting good ones. Your subjective mind... Your subjective mind level, the creative medium of the law, is also is entirely impersonal and will just as readily take up your negations and produce a crop of illness, poverty, and hardship, difficulty, or inharmony. Be careful about your planting. When you first start to get your garden ready, you are likely to find that it contains a good many stones, weeds, hard chunks of earth, or rubbish. These need to be cleaned away if the soil is to produce as you desire. Similarly, old complexes, attitudes, and habits certainly will ruin your harvest in the spiritual realm unless you get them out. Consciousness appears contagious until we make a definite stand in our own. John Smith was humming a gay tune and seemed to exude great confidence in himself and the world as he boarded the streetcar. He sat down next to a man who was filled with fear and apprehension. By the time John Smith got off the car, he was in the grip of a terrible anxiety which he could not explain. It is possible for us to catch fear from others as much as we would catch a cold, For we are all unconscious, mental, emotional, and spiritual broadcasting stations. All right, did you hear that? For we are all unconscious, mental, emotional, and spiritual broadcasting stations. I am not. I deliberately make the attempt to broadcast kindness, peace, calmness, harmony, good. Occasionally I am unconscious and then I'm a mess, but here we are. So, consciousness is really important right there. This takes us back to a thought in the Bible which says that a person's enemies shall be those of their own household. For our real enemies are our fears and phobias, our doubts and uncertainties, our anxieties, and our inner conflicts. Just as each person, place, or thing has a subjective atmosphere or remembrance, so each town, city, or nation has its individual atmosphere. Some towns are bustling with life and action, while others seem dead. Some are filled with a spirit of culture, while others are filled with a spirit of commerce. This is the result of the mentalities of those who live in such places. Just as a city has its atmosphere, so does an entire nation. The combined thought of those who inhabit a nation create a national consciousness, which we speak of as the psychology of that people. When intelligence makes a demand upon itself, it answers its own demand out of its own nature and cannot help doing so. In philosophy, this idea is called emergent evolution. Whenever the universe makes a demand upon itself, out of that very demand is created its fulfillment. But that can only be when the demand is in the nature of the universe. Therefore, the person who believes that God is specializing for them is right. God is specializing for them through the law. Such a person will realize that when they say there is a divine intelligence that knows the right answer and accepts this statement as being true, the answer to that problem is right then and there, created in mind, and will be projected through their intellect whenever and wherever they are ready to receive it. It is a new creation. God is forever doing new things, and when we conceive new ideas, it is an act of the divine projecting itself into creation. There were no flying machines. Hang on. There were no flying machines until humanity made them. The spirit did not have a lot of little flying machine models put away in a cosmic cupboard somewhere. But the mind that conceived the possibility of the flying machine is God. The mind we use is the mind of the universe. The first thing to realize is that since any thought manifests it... Hang on. The first thing to realize is that since any thought manifests, it necessarily follows that all thought does the same. How else should we know that the particular thought we are thinking would be the one that would create? Mind must cast back all or none. Knowing that nothing can hinder you but yourself, you can believe that you can. If you believe that you can, you can. If you believe that the law of good will work, it will work. You are not changing the nature of its power. You are merely altering your position in it. Okay. You are merely altering your position in it. There is a tendency on the part of all of us to respond to the accumulated subjective experiences of the human race. Realizing that the subjective draws to itself everything that is in sympathy with, we see that anyone who is sympathetically inclined towards the race or vibrates to the race thought might pick up the entire race emotion and experience, and, if they were able to bring it to the surface, could consciously depict it. Many of the world's orators, actors, and writers have been able to do this, which explains why some of them have been so erratic that they have been more or less controlled by the emotions which they have contracted. The winning or losing of what we call a demonstration lies entirely in one's state of thought or consciousness, in whether or not they are able to perceive more good than evil. Our word has the exact amount of power we put into it. This does not mean power through effort or strain, but power through absolute conviction or faith. Now, if any word has power, it must follow that all words have power. We can, if we are not careful, get caught in what I call a cosmic trap, which I do not think is of our own making, but comes from the race consciousness. It is the belief that in order to be good, you must suffer. And to be in religion, you must take the blows of adversity. There is nothing in our philosophy to cause us to want to be a doormat or a bookmark. We do not wish to be arrogant either. We must have the capacity to love greatly, but justice and mercy must balance. The universe is just without judgment. It is also giving. Never let someone else decide what is right for you, because they do not know. Ask yourself if the desire or idea you have complies with the law of truth, of righteousness. Does it partake of the nature of reality? If it does, then you can go the limit with it. Every practitioner and leader in our field should be successful. Everyone in our field should be successful. The old morbid concept of suffering for righteousness' sake comes up too often in our work. You will hear someone say, "This is being given to me to see how much I can take." That is all nonsense, and we should not say such things nor believe them. Such a statement is said in ignorance of the law, which excuses no one from its effects. It is going right back to the concept of the old man in the sky with the long whiskers, and he isn't there. And there's an exclamation point in there. He isn't there. Exclamation point. All right. We say that there is a universal mind, but no one ever saw it. We say God is spirit, but no one ever saw God. The Bible said, "No person hath seen God at any time, only the Son, he hath revealed it." To express this idea in our language, no one has seen cause, because we see an effect. We know there must be a cause. Nothing is more evident than the fact that we live. And since we live, we must have life. And since we have life, there must be life. The only proof we have of mind is that we think. The eternal principle is forever hidden. And so it seems that, without realizing it, we too often negate what we affirm. Take this situation of a person who owned a store and sincerely prayed morning and night that their business would prosper. At these times, they believed and accepted without question of doubt. But then what did they do at the store all day? All they could see were the countless people who walked past without coming in. Even those who did come in, he more or less overlooked. All he could think about were the people who were not coming in. So they didn't come in, regardless of his prayers. Their every thought was some form of creative prayer. They never took the trouble to see how their thoughts added up at the end of the day. But they were on the negative side, and so was the business at the store. Consistency is all important. Consistent negative thought gets us into most of our trouble. Consistent positive thought is the only thing that can get us out. And he always ends the chapter. So we're about to end the chapter with a treatment, because he calls this a positive thought for us to use. So here's one of Ernest's treatments, because we're done. You know what? I'm going to take a drink and then do it. There we go. A positive thought for us to use. I cleanse the windows of my mind, that it may become a mirror reflecting inspiration from the Most High. I do this not with strenuous effort, but through quiet contemplation, through gently reaching and affirming an inward recognition. Today, I walk in the pathway of inspiration. I know exactly what to do in every situation. There is an inspiration within me which governs every act, every thought, with certainty, with conviction, and in peace. And that is chapter 4 of the Essential Ernest Holmes, The Power That Responds to All Alike. And let me remind you, because I didn't at the beginning, as you are reading these things, I'm going to see how close nope, I don't think, yeah, okay. See the little number there at the very end? I think that says 16. If you go to the back, there's a section called Notes. I know it's backwards, I'm sorry. Notes. And so then you can look up in the chapter that you're reading what that number is, and he will tell you, Jesse is telling you where he got that particular passage from. So if you ever want to go and read in context, read, the work, well, where did this come from? It's in there. It is in there. It's just in the back of the notes, and each little section has its little note. I opted not to tell you where things came from, because that would just make this a whole lot longer, and it's just unnecessary. You should have a copy of the book, because it's a really good book, and you're going to want to refer back to it. I have been highlighting the heck out of it, because Ernest occasionally just has really amazing ways of saying things. So that ends the chapter, but that also ends where the homework will end for class 4. Yeah, because we're about to do class 3. So I'm a little ahead, and I'm going to try and stay that way. So that was the Essential Ernest Holmes, as put together by Reverend Jesse Jennings of Creative Life Spiritual Center, as read by me, with commentary by me. I know, I'm being silly. Okay, but I do need to wrap this up and get off so that David can do his thing, because he has the floor now. So I'll just remind you that David will be on soon, whatever that means. And I will see you tomorrow morning with, I think we're going to be on Matthew 18 in Hidden Power of the Bible. Hope that you enjoyed the Essential Ernest as much as I enjoyed reading it to you. And hope to see you in class tomorrow night. No, sorry. Today is Saturday. Monday night. All right, beloveds. Unless you're watching this some other time on YouTube. Well, then here we are. All right, beloveds. Take care of yourself. Know